Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm here to present Exploring White Walls and High Ceilings with Scratch plus Microbit. I'm going to ask you if you can please be patient with me as I'm navigating half screen on each one of my here in my computer for doing this presentation and getting used to hopping, but just be patient with me, please, as we move forward. Again, my name is Rudy Escobar. I'm a STEM and Computer Science Coordinator for the Stanislaus County Office of Education. I am a Microbit champion, and we also are part of the Scratch Educator Collaborative SEC as well. And I'm really happy to present this with you and give you some ideas of how to take Scratch into in your classroom. I do have to make sure that I have something connected before I start. Make sure that you have my screen. Just gonna make this connection first. Okay. So I am going to get started with it so you can see. Also just want to let you know, there's some other things that I am going to, because of the way I have my screen, I'm going to try to do some live coding as well. But if that doesn't work, I do have everything on the slide so we can actually walk through and how to do this with the Microbit. Please also, if you can put in the chat, any questions, I'm going to ask Matt if he can support me on that to be able to see what's going on because I can't see much of the chat, but I'll try to be able to accommodate that. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're going to be looking at today is a very quick overview of the Microbit and learn to connect Scratch to Microbit. We're going to explore video sensing with Scratch and how we can actually use the Microbit for some simple ideas. One thing that I've been really looking into recently is how to look at how to use Scratch and Microbit for ideas for accessibility. And then also, I'm going to give you some additional resources. We're going to look at a game as well and how we can do that with Scratch as well. So we're going to, first, what we need to do, I'm going to leave this slide for a little bit, but we're going to do our system checkup. And in case you haven't done this before, I know that some of you might have problems with if you have, you're being controlled by your computer by an administrator, if that's going to be a problem. You might just want to follow the slides or get the copy of my slides and then be able to come back later as so that way you can prepare with your district. But the way we do it, we're going to actually go to the Scratch MIT .edu Microbit link that you see here, and you're going to prepare your system. So that gives you all the things that you will need to do with your system. I do want to have a little bit of time here just to let you know, if you have a laptop or a PC or a Mac, you will need to have Scratch Link. It's called Scratch Link. You can get all of that here in this website. And what that will do is you need to have Scratch Link connected first before you actually use the Microbit with Scratch and before you even open the Scratch app in your computer. So that's something to keep in mind that you have to do. Now, if you have a Chromebook, typically the Chromebook is easier because the Chromebook, you just need to download the app from the Google Store. And then once you have the app, then it'll connect directly with the Microbit. There's no need to get Scratch Link or anything else. So that's those are the two ways that you can do it with Scratch Link. However, you do have to make sure that everything, that the Bluetooth is connected, and there's some documentation in Scratch to how to make sure that your Microbit and Scratch are working well together. One of the things that I'm going to ask you is to be patient. We do have some frequently asked questions as well, so make sure that you check that as well if you're having any trouble with Microbit in Scratch as well. So and please be patient with me because connecting Microbit with Scratch sometimes, depending on your system, sometimes it makes it a little bit difficult, but once you have it running, it works really well. So one of the things that you need to do before you even work with Microbit and Scratch, you will need to connect your Microbit through the USB, and then you're going to flash your Microbit with a Scratch hex file. You can actually get that Scratch hex file in the same link that I mentioned a little bit ago. That hex file needs to be uploaded to the Microbit first before you do anything. Now, if you, like I said, if you're using laptops, then you will need to use the Scratch link first to make that connection. Chromebooks do not need a Scratch link and only need the Scratch app. So what the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Scratch website, and you can follow up with me as we do this. To do that, you have to go to Scratch MIT.edu. Now, keep it. Just don't forget, if you have a laptop, make sure that you have the Scratch link on first before you open up the Scratch website. Make sure that you do that first before you do any of that. So I'm going to give a little bit of time just so everybody, if it's anybody following, please interact in the chat. Let me know how you are doing or any questions you have. I see Shelly asking in the chat. Another problem we have is that our admin block access to the App Store and Chromebooks. Are there any workarounds? Thank you, Shelly, for asking that question. We've been having the same issue, and that's a really good question. Right now, I know that Scratch is working to try to work around that problem. One of the things that we've been doing, and if you want to mention this to your IT, is that we asked our IT has done what they call a kiosk mode. And by doing a kiosk mode, then they actually can download the app into the Chromebooks, and then they run it to the kiosk mode. Now, the problem with the kiosk mode is that if they do that, they can the kids cannot access anything else. It only runs under the kiosk mode. So that's the only disadvantage right now. But I know that Scratch is working right now to try to fix that issue of being able to download the app from the Google Store, because a lot of them are right now blocked. Thank you for that question. Yes, it's called kiosk mode, Shelly. I think on the Zelda, I see that you're asking about the Scratch MIT EDU for teacher. I think there's a connection there. There's a link on the same link that I gave you. There should be something that, or you can just search it in there, and it'll tell you how to do the teacher account. But it's very simple. You just submit as an educator, and then they'll respond to you in 24 hours. It's pretty fast. Okay, so I'm going to move a little bit ahead so that way we can start to experience this. I see that some of you were actually able to connect. So what we're going to do is we're going to start first, and I'm going to walk you actually through these slides, and then we're going to actually try to do the lab coding. I just have to switch the links. But here, what we're going to do to be able to do anything right now, if you're not familiar with video sensing, or what you have to do is you have to go into the extensions in Scratch. So I'm going to ask you to first click on the extensions block at the bottom of the Scratch on the left-hand side, and then look for the video sensing extension and click on it. And I'm going to show you in a minute what that's going to look like once you click on it. Then I'm going to ask you to go back, and you're going to repeat the same process. You're going to go into the extensions, and you're going to look for the microbit extension, and you're going to click on it as well. Shelly, I'm reading your questions. I apologize that I have to look at the chat every once in a while. Unfortunately, your IT has to do the kiosk mode. It cannot be you as a teacher. So you have to talk to your IT for them to do that for you. And don't worry about asking questions. That's what I'm here for. Thank you so much for asking. Okay, so once we have that, and you have your two extensions, but you're gonna see, and I apologize that this is a little small, but at the bottom of my of all the hopping screen, you'll see my presentation a little bit bigger. But what I want to do here is just to show you that you're going to find now two. On the menu, you're going to find two new icons. One of them is for the microbit, and one is going to be for the video sensing. And those are the two that we're going to be using with whatever we're going to do today on the first activity. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually make a button. So what I want you to do is, if when you go to Scratch, go ahead and open up a new project. Or you already did, I'm sorry, you already did it with a new project. And you're going to find that second tab on the left-hand side. So right now we have the cat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch it over, and we're gonna actually look at that second tab. And I'm gonna try to see if I can open Scratch as well for us, so that way I can see it. So give me a second. Just switching tabs, there might be a problem for me, but let me see if I can do that for you. But what we're gonna do is you're gonna look at that one, and you're gonna make a button. So use the circles or use the other things around, and what you're gonna do there is you're going to make a circle, and with that circle, you can type in with the text "touch here." So that's gonna be your sprite. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to do that. Mary, I see that you're asking about working in two screens. Unfortunately, I don't have two screens. I'm working with one and dividing it in two. That's a little bit of the difficult part, but trying to make it work that way. So please, in the chat, let me know if you want me to slow down or if you have any questions. I'm going to try to walk you through and try to adapt to what we have here in Hopin. So as I was saying here, we're going to be on the customs, and on the customs, you're going to actually put in that circle, and you're going to put touch here. So the next step we're going to do, once you have your custom made as a sprite, yes. And right now, if you can tell me in the chat, you're seeing my presentation screen, right? Can somebody please? If somebody can, yes. Okay, so you can see my presentation. Yes, right now I'm just running you through the presentation. I don't have the actual Scratch app open right now, so to show you, just because it's hard for me to switch between the two. But this is exactly what you would be doing. So the next step we're going to do, you're going to open up, go back to your screen, and I'm just going to show you what this is going to look like. You're going to have your button show up. I think it's going to be in the center of your screen. So what you can do is you can drag it. You can drag it to the top. You're going to put it there to the top. Okay. Once you are there, I'll walk you to the next one. You're going to use three different blocks. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to go for the sprite. So the sprite is your button, the button that you just made. And on the sprite button, you're going to put in, you're going to go to the extension that you just got the block for the video sensing. You're going to pull the block that says when video motion is greater than 10. And you're going to put that in the coding area. And then you're going to go to the microbit icon, and you're going to drag the display hello. Now remember, this is for your sprite. I see Dr. is saying to share. Yeah, you know what? Let me see if I can share my slides right away for you. It might be easier for us as well. As I'm talking, as I'm putting this link in the slides, the next one on the backdrop, so that would be your background. What you're gonna do is you're going to click on it first, and then you're going to put the following two blocks. You're gonna drag from the microbit when A button is pressed, and then from the video sensing, you're gonna drag set video transparency to 100. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the another block from the microbit icon, and you're going to drag one that says, well, actually, when you drag it, it's going to say when A button is pressed, but just switch it to B button. And then you're going to do the same block for the set the video transparency to 0. So these are the blocks that you're going to be using. So Dr. Beth, I'm going to put in the link right now for the slides. And I'll share them later as well, but there's the link for the slides. Dr. Beth, yes, you do have to have the microbit hooked up. So if you're using an actual, if you're using a laptop, you'll have to have the Scratch link open first. And if you're using the app, then you would have to use you will have to use just the app and it'll connect. I'm going to try to switch right now to the screen so I can show you exactly how this works. So it'll be a little bit easier for all of you. Okay, so I'm going to have you with these links here. So I'm going to actually bring back in. Please be patient with me. I'm going to try to switch screens so that way I can show you what I did with mine. So I am going to share this tab instead. Can everybody see my tab there? Yes, okay, so I see some of you that you can see it, good. So what I'm gonna show you is I'm gonna show you here, and I think I see that you only see half a screen, but let's see if it will work. I put in the same code that you had, so I have the code here. I don't know if you can enlarge for yourselves. See if I can enlarge here. Okay, so I put in the code that I told you to put in. So the block, each one of the blocks here, and I apologize that I have to move around just because of the way my screen is. But the same blocks are the ones that I told you a little bit ago are here. So I also, if you notice right here, there's the 2 blocks that we've been using, the icons. And one of the things that you have to do, that you have to make sure, is that when you are connecting your microbit, if your microbit is not connected and you don't have everything set up correctly, you'll see a little exclamation mark here on the top, as you see here. That exclamation point says that it's not connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to connect mine. Hopefully it'll work right now. But when you connect your microbit, in a minute, you can then click on this here, and it's going to show you a microbit here on the screen. Once you see your microbit on the screen that is connected to your USB, you can click on connect, and you're going to have to give it a little bit of time. And now it says connected, and then you just go to the editor. So notice that now it has a check mark instead. So now I can actually go in and start looking at my code and see if it's going to work. Now I put an apple instead of a button, but it's the same thing that you're seeing here. So what you do is, like, if I reach to my apple right now, you won't be able to see my screen, but if I'm reaching to the apple, on my screen is going to show me hello. And that's really one of the things, just to see how, and then this is a good opportunity to use it with kids to show them how face recognition works, or how screens work when you touch screens, because you can touch things in the air and then it actually catches up. But then notice that on our code, we also put in, when I press button A, the transparency is going to change, and when I press button B, the transparency is going to change. So I'm going to press on my buttons, I'm going to press button A, and then I'm going to press button B. Notice what happened. So this is a good opportunity to show students how we can use a physical computing device to do things with a screen or a keyboard. So how keyboards work. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing A button to set it back to all white, and then I can take it off and then go back to this one. And then if I touch my apple right here, I grab it, then it's going to show me on my screen. I don't know if everybody can see it on my screen, but it's going to say hello on my screen. So this is just something simple to show you how you can actually do this with the microbit. This is not like a very sophisticated program to do, but it's just to make the connection so everybody gets familiar with making the connections with microbit and Scratch. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. Please continue to put comments or questions in the chat. But I want to go back. Let me share this down instead. If maybe I can. Yes. Okay, so this is where we were. So I have this studio. If anybody wants to take a picture of this studio, or let me see if I can actually also take. I'm going to put in the link in the chat as well. And this studio is really just for you to start playing around with it. And if you make something different that you want to share with everybody, go ahead and put it in that studio. That studio has already some ideas of some other teachers that have done some there. Some of the other ones that I've done as well. You'll see some of those resources there. So if you want to go ahead and work on that studio, you can do that as well. Oh, yes, and I see Coach Newton. Yes, the video, it still senses the touch button, even if you have it on clear white. So the transparency is only working on the screen, so it's pretty cool that you can actually do that. And I've seen kids do a lot. You can do actually even stories with it, and then you don't have to show the screen in the background. And you can put different screens in the background as well. So I want to move forward and to show you another activity that you can do, and I'm going to walk you through this one as well. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not the expert in accessibility. I'm nowhere the expert in accessibility, but there's some things that I've been playing around with and trying to figure how to make that work. So one of the things that I've been looking at is how do I use the microbit to be able to do things that can support some work, or when I think about somebody that has some emotional issues, how can I actually use the microbit to be able to show something in emotions and things like that. So those are things that I've been working with, and so I wanted to show you how to do this one. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to walk you through it, but when I think about accessibility, it doesn't have to be always something very, very hard to do. But if I want a student to be able to at least express themselves, or be able to express something through using the microbit, there's a way that we can do this. And this is just one example. There's multiple ways, and you'll see some resources that I have on there at the end that I can share with you. But we're going to actually work with this one as well. So the first thing is, remember, we have to go back to the extensions, but now we're going to add another one. We're going to add what is called text-to-speech. So I'm going to ask you to go back to the extensions, and you're going to add the text-to-speech extension. Okay. Once you have that, you're going to see some new blocks that are going to come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this, and I think I already shared the presentation with you, so you can make it bigger if you need to. But what we're going to do is, on our sprite, we're going to put in when a button is pressed, we're going to change a counter by 1. Then we're going to take, again, from the same one, when button B is pressed, and now we're going to use an if-then block. And right now, depending on how you code, I do it differently. I try to put all my if-thens first, and then I put everything else. But you're going to have 3 if-then statements. And inside those if-then statements, you're going to use the new icon that we pulled, the speech to text. And you're going to take the speak block, and you're going to drag it inside each one of those if-then statements. Once you do that, you're going to you can actually go to the microbit, and you can change what it represents. So for example, in mine, you can do a different one if you like to, but on mine, the first if on the speak, I put in heart. The second one I put in happy. And the third one I put in sad. And then I use the microbit block to display the heart, the happy face, and the sad face. Let me check the chat to see if everybody's following me there. Yes, it is on the sprite. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time just to catch up with that. And please let me know if you have any questions in the chat. Okay. I'm going to move forward. Before I move forward, is there any questions in the chat with these blocks? Yes, you can make your own display images. Good question, Charles and Margaret. You can make your own. In the counter, yes, the counter, it is a variable. So for in my example, if you notice on the, let me go back to the example. On the example, I actually put in Abby as being my sprite. So Abby was my sprite. So you can put whoever you would like to do. This is a great opportunity to have students do their, whoever they want to identify with, they can put it on there because Scratch has so many ones to do. Anybody can share in the chat, how are we doing with this one so I can move forward? Okay, so I see some of you is working. Good. Can the code be enlarged? Is that on my screen? Yes, let me see if I can enlarge my code. Let me see if I can do that here. You know what? It's not gonna work on my screen because I have it minimized. Let me actually put in the chat again my slides, and you can actually increase it if let me just give you the extension. And I apologize. I'm just trying to get used to this double screen and hop in. But here's my presentation, so you can actually increase it again. Oh, I see Fiona recommending if I do it on Scratch as well. Okay. So let me actually go back and show you a little bit here, see if I can share my screen with you. I already put it in my screen. Let me see if I can share this tab. Did everybody see my tab there? Yes, okay, good. So then on here, what I did is on the screen, just drag this one, sorry. the first button, I dragged from the microbit. I went in and I dragged the when A button is pressed and I put it right here. And then I created a variable that I called a counter. So I just go in and make a variable and I call it counter. Once I did that variable, then you start to have all these blocks show up. So what I did is I dragged this and I changed the counter by 1 and I dragged it into here. And that's the first one that we did. Then on the other side, let me see if I can increase the size for this so we can see it. It's a little crowded here. I use that counter, the if-then statements, and I use the counter variable equal to 1, then the counter variable equal to 2, and the counter equal to 3. And then, as I mentioned before, when you go to the text-to-speech, you can drag the speak, and in this case it says hello, and you can drag it into here, and then I just change the words to heart, happy, and sad. I hope that's a little bit helpful. And I apologize for the size of the screen, but I'm trying to figure how to fit this in there. So once you do that, what's going to happen is that you can actually look at you can go on your microbit, and every time I press the A button once, so I'm going to press the button once. If I press the B button once, let me just give you a little, oh, you know what, I forgot. I have to go back to, I forgot to connect my microbit again, so let me connect my microbit real quick. So now when I press the button A, and then I press the B, you say that you see that it says happy, and I don't know if you have sound. You can hear my sound. I forgot to see if I shared sound. Can somebody tell me if you can hear? Yes. Okay. Good. So yes, when I press the first time, then when I press the B, it'll say happy. So for example, if a student wants to just share how they feel, but they don't want to be talking, so then I can press the A button in heart, and it'll say the first letter. If I do it again, A, heart. And then I do. Sorry.
Heart. Heart.
Sorry.
Happy.
There we go. Mm-hmm. Then I press it again, it'll say happy. And then if I press it again, so it'll do a counter depending on what I want it to do. And then Abby will also show it on the screen, as well as you'll hear it saying the word. If in the chat, did anybody able to do this in there? Yes, I see some of you are saying yes. Okay, good. And you'll see my contact. If you have any questions at the end, you can ask me. Because I see some of you work well. So this is another opportunity to use Scratch with microbit and being able to do something that your students can develop different things on there. So now I'm going to move forward, and let me actually move to the other tab again. Again, I have that same studio. If you want to actually use the link for that studio, you can go ahead and try things out and then just play around with it and come up and do this and do it as well, with your students and share with your students, or even share what your students are doing. And I am going to put it in the chat again. I see Don asking that it supports Chromebooks. Yes, it is supported by on Chromebooks. And for Chromebooks, the only thing you have to do is you have to have the Scratch app. I see Alvaro saying, I didn't see the last part of the code. I wanted to reset it to 0. Oh, let me see if I can go back to that. Give me 1 minute. Let me switch tabs real quick. So here's, at the end, what I did is I put it outside of the if-then statements, and I put the set counter to 0 at the end. So that way you can set the counter back to 0. They're always going to set that counter back to 0. So again, this is a studio that you can actually go ahead and put in anything that you made yourself, or that if you want any of your students to have access to, if you have an opportunity to put studio things on there. If your district allows you to do it, you can actually do that. There's a lot of things that teachers have done there if you want to try it out. Okay, so I'm going to move forward to the next one. This one's going to be a little bit more work, but I do wanted to show you how we can actually do some Scratch games in Microbit. Now, there's multiple ways you can do these games. One of the things that we've done with a lot of our districts is having them use the Microbit to control a game. So you can do like different characters and have them move to a screen somehow, one way or another, or different things that you want to play with. So this is going to take us a little bit of time. I'm hoping that we have enough time to do this and for you to give some experience or any questions you have. But I'm going to share that with you, so that way you leave with a game here that you can play with your students. So what we're going to do is we're going to link the Microbit again, and we're going to do a Scratch game. We're going to build this game that you see here. It's called the Pong game. It's one of the first games that we can try it out. Don't worry about it. The blocks are very small right now, but I am going to actually walk you through them. So the first thing we need to do is, obviously, again, we're going to actually bring in our Microbit extension. So if you're using the same project, you don't have to do it again. It'll stay there. But if you're doing a new project, if you want to save all these projects separately, then you can actually use a new project. And so we're going to do the Microbit again. And by the way, if you do a new project, you will have to link your Microbit again to that specific project, like I did a little bit ago. So don't forget to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to develop a backdrop. Okay, so if you go to the here on this area here, you can click here on this icon here, and you're going to look for the backdrop. And that backdrop is this one right here. It's already pre-made. So you can look for that backdrop. So I'm going to wait for you to look for that backdrop first. And on this one, I am going to walk you through the slides first. It's just because I want to show you my sequence, my order, the way I did it. And then we can do it different if you want to try it different. But I just try to do it that way. It'll be easier for me. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to select the backdrop. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to make 4 different sprites. So the first one, this ball here, you can go ahead and click on the cat right here on the bottom and look for that ball. You can even type it in the search. I think the paddle is also included in there, so you can do the paddle, and I think the line is also there as well. So 3 of them are there. Now the last one that you see here in the screen, this is the game over one. That one I created myself. You can create whatever you would like to do, and to do that, you can click on the sprites, and on the sprites, on the sprites, you can actually look for, and there is that paint little button. The paint icon. You can click on the paint icon, and that paint icon is going to take you to the sprite. You can make that sprite. And in my case, I just created a blue screen at the bottom, and let me actually show you what mine looks like. I created a screen in my customs, and I call it game over, and then I put game over with a sad face. Oh, and thank you, Margaret. I see that you put in there neon tunnel. Thank you so much. That's the name of the background. Okay, so this is what I did with mine. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to do the first code, and this code is going to be for the line. So I'm going to pick my line first. So that was my red line. So I'm going to go back one step here. So I did it for this one right here first, the line. And hopefully you'll see my reasoning behind why I did the line first. So for the line, what we're going to do is we're going to drag when the flag is clicked, go to X, and X is going to be in the, let's go back here. It's going to be in my other motion screen. So go to X, and I put in -1 to -174 just because that's going to put my line all the way to the bottom of my game of my backdrop. So I'm going to show you actually on my backdrop here in a minute. That's going to put my line right here at the bottom of the screen. So that's why I did that backdrop there. So that's the first one I'm going to do. And I don't want to show you on here. I want to try to show you on the slides just because it's very hard to show you with the split screen the size of my. And please let me know in the chat if you have any questions. Okay, so the next step we're going to do, we're going to go to the paddle sprite. That's going to be a little bit more. And if you're having a hard time seeing that, please let me know in the chat. But we're going to drag when I click on the flags. The first one is going to go to X0 and then Y to -102. What that's going to do is that it's going to put my paddle right in a little bit below the center. But I'm also going to use a broadcast here, and I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with broadcast, but I'm going to create a variable called game over. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to say when I received game over, it's actually, sorry, it's not a variable, it's a new message. So it's a message. I'm trying to move the screens. Okay. And then if you notice at the bottom of this screen, I have stop other sprites. Okay. I can't see the chat, so let me check. I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm thinking everybody's following. And then on the other flag, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a forever block. And I'm going to do 2 if-then statements. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on the first if statement, I'm going to go to the microbit block, icon, and I'm going to drag if a button is pressed, then I want you to change X by -10. What that's going to do is that it's going to move my paddle to the left-hand side. And again, in the other if-then statement, I'm going to drag another microbit block, and I'm going to say, if B is then pressed, then I'm going to move +10. What that's going to do is it's going to move my paddle to the right. So it's hard that I cannot see anyone. So can you in the chat let me know if you're doing okay with this? I see thumbs up. Working it, we're keeping it up. So far good. Build the duplicate function, okay. Good. Still adding those if-thens. Okay, good. That's okay. We're taking time. I just want to make sure that you're able to follow if I'm not going too fast. So you'll still have the presentation there. So I'm going to move forward so that way we can get moving on this. But if you have any questions, please continue to put them in the chat. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to look at the game over now, the message. Remember the one that I made? And in the game over message, you're going to create your custom if you want. But what I did with that one is I dragged another green flag. And when you are in the looks on the menu, you're going to look for when it says hide. So what I did here is I put in the hide block right under the flag. And then I did another one that I put in there that I said, when I receive a game over, show. And then I say, I'm sorry, when I receive game over, which is the message, show something, right? So it's going to show my game over, and it's going to wait 3 seconds, and it's going to hide again. Now remember, this goes on the message that you created, and that message can be changed later if you want to. You can just right now just put something simple so you can try it out and test it out. How are we doing? I see some claps. I see some thumbs up. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay, I'm going to move forward on the next one. So for the next one, it gets a little bit more complicated. So we're going to take a little bit of time on this one. And please let me know if you can see it in the screen or if you don't have the presentation so you can increase the size. But on this one, we're going to have two different messages. Two different codes. The first, we're going to have 2 flags. On the first one, we're going to set our score to 0. That score is a variable. So we're going to have a score variable. And we're going to set our score to 0 at the beginning. And I'm going to tell my ball to go to 0, 0 at the start. And I want it to point in a 45-degree angle. So that direction. In a minute, you're going to see why. Then after that, we're going to do a repeat until block. And inside that block, we're going to put in the move 5 steps and if on edge bounce block. If you're not familiar with those blocks, the if on edge bounce, what that does is that it's going to have my ball bounce all around the screen, so it doesn't go through the screen. So it's going to just bounce around. After that, outside of that repeat, I'm going to put in a stop button. And the stop block. If you're not familiar with the stop blocks, let me actually just go back real quick to show you. The stop blocks are going to be in your control. And when you see it, it's always a stop all. But when you click on the arrow, you'll see the different types of stops. So we're going to look at that stop first. We're going to stop other scripts in the sprite. And then we're going to broadcast game over. Remember, we had this game over before. Jennifer, I like your idea. That sounds really good. Okay, so then that's going to be for our first message. So that's really what's happening at the beginning. We're setting it up for our ball. Then the next one, we're going to now do a forever block right under the flag. And then inside that forever block, we're going to put in an if block. Oh, and I apologize. I think I forgot to tell you. This inside the repeat until, I put in a block that comes from the looks. I'm sorry, the sound. No, actually, it's the sensing. Apologize. Let me actually switch here. So if you're not familiar with those, on the sensing menu, you're gonna find the touch with my mouse pointer block. So this is what I dragged inside here, but instead of that, I look for my line and I clicked on the line because what I wanted to do is that if it touches the line, I wanted to do something. Really, it's gonna be a game over, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's why I broadcast game over. And then now on the second block, you're going to see right now, after on the if then statement, you're going to drag the touching sensing again, but now we're going to call it paddle. And that paddle should be there because it already recognizes your sprite. And then I'm going to put in a motion block, which is the turn to certain degrees. And inside that turn certain degrees, there is an operator button in Scratch, if you're not familiar with it, here on the operators. And what you're going to do with that operator block, you're going to pick a random block right here, this random block that you see here. And you're going to drag that in. And that's what's going to be in your block right here. Pick a random, and I put it 90 to 180 degrees. Then we're going to get the variable, and we're going to change the score by 1. And then we're going to wait for 1 second. And I know this is a lot, and I don't want to take too much time for you, but if you have my presentation already, you can actually follow along on the presentation. And please let me know if you have any questions. Yes, thank you, Noel. This is the controller. So how are we doing? If anybody can tell me in the chat, how are we doing? How's everybody? How's everybody doing with their ball? Okay, so I see some great, some thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to move forward. If you have any questions, please let me know. So now we have our game. Really, now we have it all set up. We have our game ready to go. And it's ready to be played. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm actually going to switch to my screen. See if I can switch to this screen here. Everybody can see. Yes, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to try to scroll to this side. So notice that right now when I start, and unfortunately you can't really see let me see if I can make this bigger. There we go. Okay, so notice that right now I have the 3 on the top because it hasn't started. And let me just go back small again because I need to connect my microbit first. I connect my microbit again because I started a new program. So now it's connected. So now that I have this here, I'm going to open it up. And then when I click on the flag, the ball is going to start moving. And I can use my A and B buttons to move my paddle. So notice that I'm trying to put it, and then the ball randomly is going to move in different directions. Now you can change the speed of that ball if you wanted to. You can actually put in a timer there so the ball can move. I just tried to do it simple, so that way you could see how it started. But notice that my score is also changing. And for some reason it fell over, so now I got a game over. And I got 3 points. So this to show you how we can actually do games with students. Now this is a simple game. You can do a lot more complicated games. But I just wanted to show you how you can actually do a game, a Pong game just with Scratch. Thank you. I see that someone on side. I hope you can do it. Now, if you want to get even further on this, on the bottom, on the right-hand side, right here on the sound, you can actually build your own sounds, or you can upload some MP3 files, and then you can do sounds like, you know, when it's game over, a sound of game over, or you can also have a start sound as well. So there's multiple things that you can do with this. So let me go back to our screen. So again, I do have the studio again. If you want to go into that studio, if you have some time, you want to play around with this as well, then you can put in your own games in there if you want, or you can go in there in the studio and just look at around what people have made or that I have also put up there. With that, it looks like we're getting close to the time, and I see somebody asking, Fiona, would you recommend doing this game first without the controller? You can do that without it. And then I see curious about microbit sensors or input components and Scratch. Don, great question. I've been asking the same question, and from what I understand, they're working on that. That we're going to have more. My dream is that we're able to do servo movement and things of the sensors as well with Scratch. So I'm really looking for that. Hopefully, it'll be coming up. I see that learner has designed a soccer match in cave surfing. It was equally awesome. So good. Those are great ideas. And I see, can I ask, is it easier to connect via online Scratch or on Scratch desktop using Scratch Link? Selena, that's a great question. And it all depends on how your district has the Scratch app setup. If you have open Bluetooth in the Scratch setup, it's easier to use the Scratch app than to use Scratch Link on the Chromebooks. It's way easier. Okay, so those are things that I would recommend. If you're able to have the geolocation for the Chromebooks, it's easier to use the Scratch app than to use the Scratch Link on the laptops. That's something that I've experienced as well. So I see Dr. Beth. Oh no, it's those direction for this. Okay. And I think I'm going to show you some resources as well. So we're getting close to time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my next slide, and I'm going to thank you for being here with me and participating. And please follow me on Twitter or on Instagram if you have Instagram. I'm always trying to put ideas on there that we can do and share ideas from other people, because I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that are doing this work. There's things that we try all the time, but there's a presentation link again if you want to look at that presentation as well. And then I have the resources, and I'm going to actually, let me put in the link for the resources for you. So I haven't put that one on. On this resources is live. It's a Wakelet live. And what I do is any resource that I see, I actually put it up there for you. So I've been collecting these resources for a while now, but everything else we collect on there. We'll add it, or if you want to add anything else, let me know. But this is for you. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you so much.